Hi guys, hello. I am literally so freaking excited for this video, also mildly terrified. I let someone from the internet thrift for me. I purchased a mystery style bundle off of Depop. I love the idea of mystery boxes and mystery bags and things like that, but I am a very particular person. So yeah, I'm scared. First of all, I did want to show you the listing. So to kind of give you an idea of what I got, obviously. There's 3 different sizes and I did get the biggest one. I figured if I was going to do it, I might as well do it. So it was $65 plus shipping. I think the total with shipping included was like $80. And like I said, I definitely wanted to make sure, give myself and her the best shot at being successful with this. So I did message her quite a bit of detail. First of all, I did create a specific Pinterest board just for this, and also to just any other future mystery bundles that I get, because again, I think this idea is so fun, so I probably will do it again. And right now the kind of style that I want to kind of go toward is more of a kind of like witchy 90s kind of earthy boho kind of vibe, which again, this is kind of like the listing picture, and as you can see, it doesn't really match exactly kind of like what I was looking for. So I did message her before we went any further, and I was like, hey, so I've been making a Pinterest board, and I linked it, and I was like, this is kind of more of the vibe that I'm going for. I know it's a little different than your listing, but are you still okay with doing this? And she said yes. And again, I gave her some extra notes, and basically I said, as you saw from my board, I'm really liking skirts right now, and I said that I would prefer that over any other bottom, basically. And then I did mention that I didn't really mind if the clothing wasn't in full outfits. I would rather get cool individual pieces versus trying to make an outfit, you know what I mean, and kind of potentially passing up on something really cool. Which also, on kind of that same note, I said with the accessories, if you can't find an accessory, I'd rather have a clothing piece, a skirt or something like that. And then I also mentioned that I like gem tones, which I also added a couple of color palettes in my board just to kind of give her a reference point. And then I said the only colors I don't really like are orange and yellow. And then for jewelry, I said I prefer silver. And then I also remembered something later on, and I said I don't really like those beaded bracelets, because I did notice in the listing pictures she had a lot of those as references. And then I said I don't like big chunky bangles. So that was kind of, I guess, all I gave her. I mean, I feel like I was trying to give a good direction without being overbearing, you know what I mean? Anyway, with all of that being said, let's go ahead and crack open our bag. I'm just going to, I guess, just rip it open from the middle. Ooh, I can feel velvet, I think. Here's the first look. What is that? I was not expecting to feel faux fur. So I'm just gonna pull out the first piece, which seems to be a big chunk of this bag, which is kind of making me nervous, to be honest. Literally, this deflated so much from this. You're not gonna be able to see this very well until I do the try on portion, but here's our first piece. It's a really long kind of oversized knit cardigan, and I actually do really like the color of this. If I'm gonna get something gray, I kind of like that this is more of a taupey gray, and I actually really like the faux fur details on here. I was not expecting something so wintry, so that has thrown me off a little bit. I actually pulled up my board so I can kind of see where maybe this reference was coming from, because in my head I gave her a lot of really long skirts and spaghetti strap shirts, very summery kind of things. But my very first picture actually on the board has a faux fur kind of coat, so I think that's kind of her reference point for this. As of right now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not in love with it, but I definitely can understand why she picked this, and I'm interested to see what it looks like on. So first things first, you're gonna have to ignore the styling of each piece. I have a very small wardrobe, which is actually one of the reasons I wanted to get a bundle like this. I want to kind of bulk up my wardrobe with cool pieces, but as far as the actual piece goes, I do like this a lot better on than what I thought it was going to. This very much reminds me of something that Phoebe Buffay would wear, and also it does have this cute little tie in the front that I didn't realize it had at first, which I definitely feel gives it more of a whimsical little vibe along with the faux fur. So it's definitely not something that I would have picked out for myself, but again, that's kind of the fun of doing these type of mystery bundles. So I do think this is going to be a piece that I'm going to keep. Next up, I'm so nervous. I can see the color peeking out of the bag, and I don't really like corals and peaches, and I probably should have mentioned that, but I figured with my Pinterest board, there was a really good idea of the color palette that I liked. And the fact that I said I don't like orange and yellow, I feel coral's kind of really close to orange, but I didn't specifically say it, and I don't know what this piece looks like. Oh, I don't think I like this one, guys. Here's what this skirt looks like. Honestly, my main issue with it is the coral color, but also more so the length of this. I probably should have specifically mentioned that I would prefer a maxi skirt, but I didn't think I had to, because literally every skirt on my Pinterest board was a maxi skirt. You can probably see it in my face, but this is a no. I honestly don't really like anything about this skirt. I felt like I was wearing a costume. The only positive thing that I can say is that it did fit perfectly, which is something that I was worried about just in general. But aside from that, this is a no. Let's go ahead and reach into our bag and try to find something else. Ooh, okay, we got another skirt, I'm pretty sure, and this one I can already tell I like. And this one does have colors that I am drawn to. The only thing like very, very nitpicky about this is I don't like the drawstring. I said again in the message that I didn't like yellow colors, but I do love mustard as a color. So I like that it does have little accents, and also sunflowers were my favorite flower as a kid, so I like that that kind of reminds me of that. In the moment while I was unbagging this skirt, this was definitely the piece that I was the most excited for out of everything, because it is the most obviously inspired by my board, and again, it does fit perfectly, but the materials of the majority of this stuff felt like really cheap and modern fast fashion materials, and that's just not what I would have wanted to spend $80 on. You know what I mean? Next piece. Ooh, this is cool. Oh, this is a dress. Okay, that makes me a little nervous actually. So this is the next piece. We have like a full tie-dye moment. And again, I do feel like these are colors that I do gravitate towards. They're little like brighter versions of what I typically like. And as you just saw, I did think this was a skirt at first, so I got really excited. The fact that it's a dress seems a little overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. This one is a no. I have honestly never worn something so unflattering in my life. Like, I just did not feel good about myself in this at all. So as is, hard no, but I was kind of like playing with it and pulling it to like see what it would look like if it was tighter. I think I might keep this one to see if I can alter it a little bit or a lot of it. All right, and I think there's one more clothing item in here. Okay. This could be cute. So this is a black dress. It's got like a little bit of like a heart neckline, just cute. It's got little cap sleeves, which typically I don't like a poofy sleeve. It's kind of like a little baby doll dress. This was definitely one of the more flattering pieces that I got, but again, I felt very much like I was wearing a costume. I honestly don't really understand the reference for this one. I don't feel like this looks like anything on my Pinterest board or even like the style that I was kind of going for. And also again, the material of this just like screamed new and cheap. So again, I'm not going to be keeping this one either. It's not like the worst thing, but I don't really like it. And that's all we have for clothing. Now we just have the accessories. So it does seem like instead of getting me accessories, aka like a purse or a belt or something like that, she did go for more clothing, which now that I have the pieces, I kind of wish I hadn't said that, but that's my own fault. And then our accessories are in this little baggie. I did say that I didn't like bangles, and I know I said like big chunky bangles, but I mean just in general I don't really like bangles, and I don't typically wear bracelets in the first place. But here's what these look like. I don't like hate them, but I don't love them. And then we have this beaded necklace, which I don't really like, to be honest. The individual beads themselves are kind of cool. They're like black with little splotches of purple and gold, or like a coppery color. The accessories, not my favorite. Final thoughts on our clothes, this seller, my experience, etc., etc. Full transparency, it is actually a few days after my initial unbagging, and now that I've had kind of like more time to sit on everything, like as I was like taking everything out of the package, I was trying really hard to be like as positive as possible, but I don't really like anything in this bag, to be completely brutally honest. I think this is gonna be honestly the only thing that I keep from the entire bundle. So I basically spent $80 on this sweater. Actually, also this I might end up keeping because I can see I do not know how to sew, but it is something that I've kind of wanted to get into. I definitely follow a few accounts where people like knit and sew their own clothing and stuff like that, and it always comes out so cute and so cool to be able to like say like I made this myself, you know what I mean? That being said, I do feel like maybe I'll keep this because I like the colors, but I think as it is, it's just not my style whatsoever. It's basically a muumuu. I hope I could like maybe take it in a bunch and make it either like a kind of more of a form-fitting dress, or I was thinking I could also like maybe do like a two-piece, like a skirt and top set, so that way I don't necessarily have to wear them together either, because I do feel like bright tie-dye like this is a little intense for me. This was definitely a little bit of a flop. I do feel like the seller like put my Pinterest board and things like that into consideration. It definitely wasn't what I was expecting, but I could tell where they were going for the most part. But again, my biggest complaint with everything is just that I feel really bad saying this, but I feel like these are kind of more cheaper, more modern fabrics, and I definitely prefer a more like actual vintage find. I definitely feel like this is a little bit of a flop, unfortunately, but I hope you guys had fun watching anyway. And if you have any suggestions or like recommendations for other shops, small businesses that do this kind of thing that maybe you've gotten good results from, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll try one of those ones out, because I do love the concept of this. I think it's just like I'm really, really picky, and I don't know. Anyway, that is everything that I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you have/have had the most amazing of days, and I will hopefully see you in my next one. Bye!